In the previous video, I modeled an air conditioner that was inspired by the video game The Last of Us, and here it is. And it's time now to texture this. So I'm going to go into the UV editor, and I'm going to go into edit mode and A to select everything. First of all, make sure that you do M, merge by distance, get rid of anything, and make sure everything is recalculated outside, and just double check if you have that single plane in there. Sometimes that's flipped. Okay, so I'm going to go into edit mode, and all I'm going to do is U, Smart UV Project, and set the island margin 0.03. Do that, and then come over here, A, select everything. I'm going to use Pack Master 3, just pack the islands. And we're done. Just remember as well that there are two materials on here. There's a body and a grill material. Alright, now we're going to export this. So export as an FBX, and just export it anywhere. I'll put it on my desktop in The Last of Us air conditioner, selected objects. Alright, now we're going to switch over to Substance Painter. Click File, New, navigate to where your thing is. There it is. And I'm going to switch this to OpenGL and click OK. And there is my air conditioner brought in. Okay, now bake the mesh maps. I'm going to do this at 2K and check ID and bake. Alright, there it is. Have a look at it. Make sure there's no black spots or dots or lines on it, and it looks okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click here and scroll down and turn on temporal anti-aliasing. It'll just look a little bit better. I'm going to work first of all on the body, so I'll come to the layers and I'll delete the default layer. Now, I've got some notes here I'm going to have to refer to so that I don't take a lot of time tinkering with things. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do, however, is I'm going to create a base fill layer. And I'm going to use UV projection. I may switch this to sharp, bilinear sharp. And I'm going to use color and roughness. And the roughness I'm going to put at about 0.6. And the color I'm going to make a little bit lighter. So we have that. And I'm going to be changing this in a bit. But the first thing we'll do is we're going to add a fill right to this, and in here I'm going to add in the base color, I'm going to click BN for black and white, or what, and I want there black and white spots 1, and I put that all over the place there. Alright, so we've got the balance of 0.5. We've got contrast of 0. Okay, so we're going to have that, but that's obviously too intense. We'll come back to here, and I'm going to switch this to multiply, and I'm going to put this on about 15. And it'll be very faint. Just a little bit of texture in there on the base. And we are going to call this base. And there's really only going to be 3 main layers to the material and then some dirt. Alright, so I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to call this Dirt Edges. This is a neat one right here. And I'm going to change this. We're going to have color and roughness, I think. Roughness, I want to bring it all the way up to 1 right now. And for the color, I want to get a brownish, sort of a light brown color there. We'll start with that and see how I like that. Okay, I'm going to add a black mask, and I'm going to add a generator, and the generator I'm going to use is this mask builder. We're going to build our own stuff here, so this is where the values come in. So you can already start seeing something going on here. Alright, and the first thing I want to do, I want to come back, actually change this to just that. Alright, so let's go back to the properties of that. And I'm going to use a level here of, I'm going to bring that down to 0.54. We're going to adjust the contrast 0.25, and I'll leave that. Triplanar 0.5. Grunge is there, but we're going to come into the grunge and change the scale from 2 to 3. So watch here as I do that. That changed that a little bit. And this next one, we'll change it more. Under the AO, I'm going to change this to about 0.9. So watch this one. Okay, it really expanded that. Alright, I'll leave the contrast there. And I'm going to change the noise value from 0.25 to 0.5. Now watch this one as well. You may have seen it just makes it a little bit more gritty. And we've done the grunge scale, right? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to get that. And curvature 0.5 and 0. Level boost down here 0.25. I think I'm going to do level boost 0.5. Watch that. It just darkens it and boosts it. You know, shouldn't define it with the same term. Alright, we're going to move on and flip that over. Scratches and the scatter we're going to leave pretty much the same. So that's that layer. Alright, now we're going to have another layer with a fill, and we're going to call this dust. And again, I'm going to use bilinear sharp. I'm going to use color and roughness, and the roughness I'm going to bring all the way up to 1. But for the color, where am I going? I'm going to sample just this darkness right there. All right, good way to get a nice dark color for the dust. And we're going to do a similar thing. We're going to switch this to add a black mask to that. And I'm going to use a generator, and I'm going to build it again so I can adjust some of the values. The mask builder here. And you can see it's already done something here. That's looking kind of cool. Let's come in here and change the level to 0.5. And contrast, let's put the contrast down to 0. You see how that changed that there? I'm going to click invert, but we'll be changing the blending opacity in just a moment. The grunge can stay at 0.25. The grunge scale can stay at 2. AO, let's see, the range is 0.5 and 0. The noise at 0.25. That's all good. Alright, let's go back out here and change this value from 100% to about 20%. It's just a dark gray is in there. And that's the main texture without the dirt. So this is my main layer. So I'm going to Control G and put that into a folder. And just call that, I don't know, material. Now, if you were to give this, and I'm not done yet, but I'm close. If you were to give this a more definitive name, like, I don't know, AC material, if that was worked for you, you could save this. You could, as long as it's in a folder, you can right click and create a smart material. I'll do that just for the heck of it. That'll create a smart material so that it's right there, so that if that was gone and you had your model you baked, you could just bring that right in and it'll put it on. Okay, so that's the beauty of smart materials. Anyways, the next thing I want to do is just to add a bit of dirt. So I'm going to use color and roughness, drag the roughness all the way up, and the color I'm going to make a dark brown kind of color. And for this one, I'll add a black mask, a generator, and the dirt generator, and just pull it down like that. And that is the texture that I want to use. All right, some of it's gone in there, and I just happen to really like that texture. We're not done, but that is what we've got so far. All right, I'll just call that dirt. All right, we're going to come over to the grill now, and we're going to work on this thing in here. And if I want, I can isolate it, and I might just do that. And that's the shadow from the ambient occlusion that went on here, because when I baked it, it was already inside there. Okay, I'm going to come to materials. I'm going to drag this aluminum on there. I'm not going to see much. Let's say sort of do that. It's just I want it to be a metal. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a fill. And I'm going to have on that fill color and height. And the color is going to be a sort of a dark gray color. So I'm going to click that. And I'll sample this again. So we're going to have a color to this. And now we're going to add a black mask. And we're going to add a fill to that. And come into the properties. I've got this grayscale. So I'm going to use a procedural hex. And it's going to be this hexagon dots. I've used this one before. I'm going to apply that. Tiling all the way up. Dots down. Border width I'll use something like 0.45. Something like that. And then I'm going to come back to the main layer and I'm going to adjust the height. And I'll use something like 0.15. And now you can see the effect of that. Now if I bring that back on the fill, I'm going to change this to triplanar. And I'm going to change the scale to 2. And that's the effect that I'm going to get. It is not going to be very visible, but it's just there depending on where the light is. Okay, so that's done, and this is the pattern really. Okay, so let's go back to the body now, and we're going to do a little bit of alpha work. Switch to orthographic. Just going to adjust my light a little bit. And a couple of things I need to do. I'm going to create a paint layer, and I'm going to call this alpha. I'm going to drag it below my main layers. And I'm going to be using anchors, and I'll show you how to do multiple anchors for this. Alright, and here I want just height. And I'm going to bring the height up a little bit. And I come to my alphas, and I'm going to search for something. Let's try actually this square here. Decrease the size of the X, and let's see what we're getting. Alright, and I'm going to make that a bit smaller and zoom in. And I want to click here. We'll get something like that there. Alright, now I'm going to take this. I'm going to rotate it. Make it a little bit bigger maybe. And we'll put one roughly in the middle of this as well, this panel there. So we have that. Alright. Now I think I'm going to try decreasing the height and searching for a circle and using this one. Let's see what this is like. If I just come in here, I'm going to make like a little light. I'm going to adjust the hardness. I'm going to bring the hardness down quite a bit. And maybe the border width. And just play with this until you get the effect that you want. I'm going to do that because it looks a little bit like a light. I'm going to put an emission on there. But before I do that, I'm going to swing around to the side. I'm going to turn on symmetry. And the height's there. That's okay. Let's try rectangle. Here's a rounded rectangle. You could use anything really. And I'm going to just increase the size a little bit. And here's what I was thinking. I'm going to click there, and then it goes over onto the back as well, but that's okay. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna put another one up there, and that should be going on both sides. Yes, it is. And so let's snap to the back. Keep that on. Let's get the square. Let's go to the eraser with the square, and zoom in, and come up to about here. Click and press Control and Shift, come down, and that will erase that back part, and we'll have those there. Well, we can do that again and not dig in quite as much. Maybe here. Alright, so it does it on both sides. So those are there. And finally, maybe we'll just put in, let's go back to the brush, some bolts just to have something extra. And I've got symmetry still on, so maybe I'll put not too big. There's a small one there, here, and here. We can leave it at that. I think that you get the idea. Let's turn off that. And let's go back into perspective view from now. And now we're going to have to get some of these effects on the alphas that I've just created. And the way I'm going to do that is create a new fill layer, and I'm going to call this anchor points. And here's how you can get, because normally when you do this, you can only reference one generator. For example, this dirt edges generator here. And you can't reference, say, this one plus the dirt. But this way that I'm doing it, by creating a new fill layer here, giving it the name anchor points, and then changing this to, say, adding an anchor point there. And it will, hang on a second, on there. That's what we wanted. On this layer here. That anchor point there has the same name as the fill layer. And we'll be able to reference this, and any ones, we can do multiple anchor points, as you're about to see. But what we need to do is we need to make a couple of changes here. So on the fill, I'm going to switch over to height, and I'm going to change this blending mode to pass through. And I'm just using alphas for height. But if you use normals, you would also do normal to pass through. I'm going to switch this back to base color now. And now I can reference this anchor point with a few of these things. So the first thing I want to do is I want to use dirt edges. So I'm going to click on the generator, go to the properties, scroll down to where it says micro details, and this one is already turned on for height and for normals if you want to use normals. I'm only using height. Click here, anchor point, choose that anchor point, and now let's watch the alphas here. Switch this from base color to height, and we get that grunge in there. Now you can play around with the levels if you want. I don't think I need to, but I want one more effect. I'm not going to use the dust. I want to use this dirt. So now I click on that. I'm going to go into the dirt generator, come down to micro details. This one was off for height, so I'm going to turn it on. Down here, choose anchor points, the same one we had before. Switch this to height. Now I get that dirt in there. And I think possibly for this one, I would play with the levels and adjust it so that maybe I don't have quite as much dirt. Maybe just a little bit, you know, to make it look the way I want it to. Now I'm going to up the resolution in a moment. All right, but the last thing I want to do is put a little bit of an emission on there. All right, so I'm going to go back into orthographic here, and I'm going to come above here. I'm going to create another fill layer. I'm going to call this Emissive. But I need to add an emission or an emissive channel. So I click here, add emission. And I also, I'm going to come up here, that one, this one, and just increase the emissive intensity so it's a little bit more visible. All right, on here, I'm going to come in and you see the emissive channel. I'm going to alt click on that, but I'm also going to click on color. And I'm going to make this sort of a reddish color, and I'm going to make the emission a red color. And we'll start with that, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to add a black mask, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'll use this sort of soft brush, and I'm going to click right there. And I get this glow, and I can do that again, maybe make it a little smaller. So it just seems to be on that thing which is like a light. All right, let's come back to perspective view. And that's good enough, but of course you can go in here and you can change the color as you like. Right? And if you really wanted to, you could come in here, I believe, the other one. And you can turn on post effects, glare, starting to glow a little bit brighter, and go into glare, change this to maybe bloom, and come back to here and adjust the emissive intensity if that's what you like to do. Let's make sure we're in perspective. Now let's increase the the resolution on the body layer. I don't think I need to worry about the grill, so switch that to 2048. Maximize, and there is my model textured. Okay, at this point you would just export the textures and bring them back into Blender, and I've done that multiple times. You could add any other details that you wanted to on this, and I will show you just really quickly one thing. If I come back down to my alphas, and I don't need to do anything special here. I'm just going to recycle this, and I'm going to say lines, let's say. If I chose this, and actually I'll snap. And let's say I wanted those lines like this. As soon as I put them on, they will get the effects of those anchor points. Okay, so I'll leave that there for now. All right, so it gets that dirt, that grime. And that's it, and just depending on where your light is, you'll see a little bit of the grill. All right, very simple to export these textures. Now, the only thing you got to deal with that's special is the emission, and I've shown that in a number of videos, and if you ever want me to, I can certainly do that. But you only got two materials. All right, you've got the body and you've got the grill material, and then they would show up in Blender just fine. Alright, so there's the Last of Us air conditioner, modeled and textured. Thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you in the next video.